Maseches Bava Kama. Baba Kama. Let's go. We are in Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Beis. Lamed Aleph Amud Beis in the bottom of the page. We think we spoke about every possible scenario of mishaps in Rosh Hashanah. Apparently, we did not. So far, let's summarize. We spoke about a person who's stuck in the middle of the street. Yeah, like a sore thumb. He sits in the middle of the street, so to speak, illegally. Not supposed to sit there, or even if he fell, but he overstayed his welcome. He just stands there like, Statue of Liberty. He said, stands, sits, and then somebody bumps into him. Who's at fault? The first one, he shouldn't have sat there, or at least warn him, or say something, do something. What are you sitting there like a klutz, excuse my language? Yeah, and therefore the first one is chayiv. What about if two people are walking, as we're going to see soon? Two people are walking and one of them is overspeeding. The one behind is overspeeding. Then the back one who oversped and bumped into the first one, the one ahead is chayiv, v'chule v'chule. Usually it's clear, he didn't keep the distance, right? He rushed, right? He's one who was overspeeding. You say oversped? No, in past, no. Overspeeded, I don't know, he was overspeeding. Bekitzer Amaisa, but now we're going to have a new case. What happens if they both walk together, not together as the same direction? They were both walking opposite directions, and there was this very nice, cute little collision, not mid-air, mid-ground collision, bumped into each other. They were both walking the same pace, more or less. They're both walking normally. One of them, let's see the Mishnah. Both people were walking one into the other, one coming with his barrel, which is breakable, fragile, the other one the other one came with his korah, with his beam. The kad, the jug of one of them broke because of the korah, the beam of the other one. Potu. The Baal HaKoiro is Potu. Says why? Says the Mishnah, we both have permission to be here, which means if you came to my house uninvited, apparently you heard there's such a phenomenon even today. Yeah, a neighbor comes to your house without even knocking, you don't know he's even there. Yeah, and you knocked into him by mistake, you're not chayiv. Because you say, we invited you here, you're not supposed to be here. In my house, I'm jogging. I'm right now doing my power walk in the middle of my living room or my jogging. You came to my treadmill. So, what? I'm not chayiv. But if it's Reshus Harabim and both walked normally, none of them was running too fast, or none of them was stopping, which is not supposed to stop. To sit in the middle of the street is illegal, just like to be in my house without permission. You're not supposed to do it. What are you doing sitting down? But if you're walking normally and you both Reshus Lahalech, you both walk and then one bumps into the other, it says Nibuki Yosef, the one who hurt the other can say, you are as active as much as I was, or even more. You bumped into me. True, I also bumped into you. None of us did anything intrinsically wrong. Both of us were as active as the other, and therefore, because you're an active partner in your own damage, I don't have to pay for your damage. That's simple logic of the Reisha. You could argue otherwise, maybe you should have been more careful. We're going to discuss it later, but simply talking, that makes a lot of sense. Now we're going to have more traffic rules. I think today the title again will be traffic rules in Judaism. Let's say the Baal HaKoiro was walking ahead. He was walking first in line. While the owner of the jug was walking behind him. All of a sudden, unexpectedly, the chavis broke because of the koiro. Potur Baal HaKoiro. The beam owner is potur because who was overspeeding? The Baal HaChavis. How come you here all of a sudden? Had you maintained normal distance, 2 seconds distance, whichever distance, that would have happened. Nobody stopped suddenly. I'm walking normally, the Baal HaKoiro, with my beam on my back. You all of a sudden are behind me unexpectedly. That means you're overspeeding. You're overspeeding. I don't have to pay. We're now in Lamed Beis Amud Aleph Leiv. It's a page full of Leiv. If Baal HaKoiro stood there unexpectedly, meaning he braked, and this is not expected because he did not warn anybody. What kind of braking it was? An illegal one, meaning he stood there in order to stop, not in order to lekatef, which is like 2 seconds and he's expected. He stood there for a long time. That's not something you're supposed to do in the middle of the street, to stop and just schmooze with your other bus driver friend. And therefore, you're chayiv, you stopped, and I didn't know you were going to stop. And then me, the Baal I shouldn't say me and you, I was saying, the Baal HaChovis blames the Baal HaKoiro, you're ahead of me, but you stopped without warning me, without telling me. And not in a way that you're supposed to stop either. No, at that point we don't say that. In halacha we don't say that. No. In other words, I kept normal distance, but your stop was too sudden. We don't say that. So halacha is halacha, and the Western world is shtuyot. If he warned him and he said, "Hey there, stop right there." The one the Baal Koiro, who was first walking, he stopped, but he told the other one, "Hey, watch it, I'm standing. Hey, stand, stop." Basically, he had his brake lights on, and he had the red triangle behind. Then potu, then he's not mechuyev.
Brake lights instead of saying stop.
Exactly. I'm trying to compare it all the time to modern day life. Now we're going to see the same concept, now the reverse way. Now we're talking, the first case was when the first guy damaged the second guy. Yeah, the one being damaged is the one with a chavis, he's behind. Now let's see the other way, the same concept exactly with the reverse case, the exact mirror image of the first case. Let's say the one of the chavis is the first one walking ahead. The owner of the beam is the last one behind. Nishbar chavis bekoiro. Chayav, the chavis now broke because of the koiro. That is to say, the koiro came from behind. The back car is now damaging the front car. Yeah, so to speak. So bal chavis bekoiro. Then we say, then he's chayav. Why? Because in this case, how come the bal koiro was behind? What are you doing here all of a sudden? I walked my normal pace. If you're all of a sudden into my chavis, that is to say that you were overspeeding. Overspeeding, illegal, pay me. You're not allowed to do that. It's kilu, you came into my house. You did something out of your permission. If the Baal Chovis stopped suddenly, a sudden stop, unannounced and illegal because it was not the kind of stop that's expected. He stopped for like a long time in a way that's too much, and then the Baal Kor had no way to know that. There's no way he could have predicted it. Then we don't say that the Baal Kor was overspeeding. No, we don't say he should have maintained distance. We say you stopped unexpectedly. It's not something you're supposed to be doing in a Rosh Hashanah, and therefore the Baal Kor, I had no idea this is happening. I didn't know you're going to stop. You have no brake lights, and therefore I'm potter. You're the star of the show. Exactly. If the Baal Chovis said to the Baal Kor behind him, hey, Mr. Koyo, hey, yo, beam guy, Jim Beam, please stop because I'm stopping now. Yeah, he had some Jim. Yeah. Then Chayev. Who is Chayev? If you did not stop, even though I told you to stop and you didn't, then it's your fault. I had very nice big red brake lights. You still kept running into me. You're Chayev. The same thing would apply exactly in the case of Let's say that the same case happens with one guy holding a candle. He can't hold a candle, to him, He held a candle, the other one comes with pishtan, with flax. We've already seen more than once, twice, and three times that flax and fire, flax and fire are not good friends. The fire, likes to consume the flax. The same thing would happen exactly with one guy coming with fire, and the flax carrier bumped into him, v'chulei. I was wondering, what's a chiddush? What is a kiddush of why does the Mishnah have to repeat the same case and say, the same would apply with pishtan and fire and candle and flame? So I'll tell you why. Well, I'm not telling you. I'm quoting the Meforshim Mishnah. Baruch Hashem, I knew in this case you have to go to the Meforshim of the Mishnah. They're the ones who are dealing with Mishnah extra language. So both the Tosfos Yom Tov and the Tiferes Yisrael, they both say as follows. They say somebody holds fire is so dangerous, and he knows there are people around with flammable stuff walking around. Imagine yourself in an all-day market, everybody walks with their things and with their goods and with their zachen, and now this guy with a candle is intrinsically dangerous. So maybe the one holding the candle should always be chayav. Maybe you would say you're you're holding something like nuclear weapon, you have to be extra careful, and the blame will always be on you. It's kilu, you're not allowed to be here. It's kilu, fire, that's kilu above every other precaution. Kamash malan, no. Kamash malan, of course, the fire guy has to be careful, but he doesn't have to be super extra crazy careful, and we'll always blame him. We can say, no, well, the pishton guy should also have his eyes, within normal, within a reasonable amount of security. The guy who takes the pishton should also be careful, right? He knows there are people with fire walking around, and therefore we say that it's the same halacha. The achrais is mutual, and therefore depends if you stopped suddenly, depends if you warned him, you didn't warn him, depends if you're overspeeding, v'chulei. All these are here. You think traffic laws are new? No, traffic laws are old, and they came from Moses in Sinai. Says the Gemara. Now we have a very, very interesting case. A person was having relations with his wife, and inadvertently, this guy is not an abuser, but by mistake, he damaged her. He caused her, I don't know, he broke her finger by mistake while doing Tashmish Shemitah somehow. And therefore, the question is, she wants to take him to Beis Din and say, now he broke my finger, I can't work anymore as a seamstress, I don't know what. And therefore, what do we say? Do we say that the husband has to pay his wife? By the way, the Tosfos in Ksubas, and it says in halacha, if a different person hits a woman, not her husband, but just a foreigner or somebody else, then he pays part of the payment to her and part of it to her husband. Because Lamaisa, the traditional way is that the woman's money goes to her husband. So if she can work and she cannot work as a seamstress, the one suffering partially will be her husband. So he has to pay the wife and her husband. But if the husband himself Chas v'shalom chalila beat up his wife and broke her finger, then he has to pay her everything right away. Actually, Shulchan Aruch is very strict about it. Yeah.
It's the law in Israel that husband can't and husband wife can't be proof against each other. Because in England, a husband can't go against the husband. No, so
it has nothing to do with it. A woman can sue her husband. This is not being a test, an ed. Yes, a woman can sue her husband in halacha. Forget about Israel, please. Yeah, we had enough of Israel law. But I'm saying, according to halacha, a woman can sue her husband in Beis Din many times for many, many things in halacha. Such as she comes to Beis Din and she claims that, I'm sorry, I know he was just trying to be nice and loving, but somehow in the process of tashmish, he hit me. He hurt me by mistake. And she takes him to Beis Din. Now the question is, Mahu, we didn't even begin the question. Mahu, what is the halacha? I'll hear a question soon. You could say he behaved normally. He wasn't like abusive or crazy or something. He did something normal that all men do, yeah? And he was doing it bilshus, just like our friends from walking down the street. Or Dilma, or maybe he should have been extra careful. Maybe even though he was not doing something, he was going about his normal way. Maybe he should have been extra careful, and he didn't. That's a question. Omar Lei, so now Rav Huna answers, Nitua, look, we learned in our Mishnah, very, very easy answer. The two people walking down the street are like the man and his wife in the Tashmish. Why? We saw if both you and I walked down the street and we were both active in the story. I walked and you walked and boom, bang, we bumped into each other. As long as I was not overspeeding, I was driving 50 kilometers per hour. I'm sorry, I don't know miles, yeah? 50 kilometers per hour and not 100 in an urban area. We're both okay. So I'm sorry that my Volvo made a dent in your Fiat, I'm sorry. But Lamaisa, we both have permission to be here. I didn't do anything out of the normal. And we don't say in the Mishnah, you should have been extra careful. As long as I go back my normal way, I'm okay. And the other one's also active. So a man and a wife in bed, same thing, would say that the man was behaving normal and accidentally it happened. The should not be chayiv, and we don't demand of him to be extra careful. Omar Rove, says Rove, no, Rove comes with all different, fresh approach. Says Rove, no. He quotes a Gemara from later on, from Amud Beis, and that Gemara talks about the famous case of Rotzeach B'Shoigeg. What's the story of Rotzeach B'Shoigeg? How is it described in the Torah? A man came into the forest to fell trees, to cut trees. Yeah, he's a woodcutter. And the thing fell, either the garden or piece from the wood fell on the other person and killed him. What did we do with him? Galus, it's a kind of punishment to go to an Ir Miklat. And we say, Kal v'chomer, umayar shezeh l'shus v'nichnas, v'zeh l'shus v'nichnas. In a forest, everyone's allowed to be in the forest. The forest is l'shus l'kol, l'shus rabim. V'naseh k'mish nichnas l'shus chaveru v'chayev. And yet, the Torah tells you, listen, we view you, when it comes to Ritzicha, we say, we'll look at it as if you entered your friend's domain with no permission. V'chayev. And you have golus, you have to go to the Yer Miklat now for the rest of your life. So this case, a person who entered his friend's domain with no permission, of course is chayev. Interesting. So Rava compares it, says that just like by we say, it's true that you're allowed to be here, but we look at you as if you're not allowed to because you're not careful enough. Why does a Rotzech b'shoigeg go to your miklat? Why? You should have been more careful. When you cut your woods, make sure that there's nobody else around and make sure you cut it carefully and don't create that mistaken hazard, that mishap. So too, we say that the husband should have been more careful. Even though he's allowed to be here with his wife, he's allowed to do the tashrish, it's even a mitzvah. Elamai, truth is that he should have been more careful. Yes, he should have been extra careful, like the guy cutting the wood. Frag the Gemara, what's the comparison to the wood guy? Aktani, excuse me, Rava. We say in the Mishnah, outright, black and white, in Ezekiel, we said in her Mishnah, both of them, if both of them bumped into each other and one broke the other's chovis, we say that he's not chayiv because both of them are supposed to be here. Both of them are acting generally legally, generally okay, generally normal, and therefore here he's not chayiv. So to the husband, he's not like the woodcutter. The husband is also a person who's acting normal. His wife is also active. They're both together. And what? And he, by mistake, did something wrong, but he wasn't lechatchila being extra uncareful. We don't demand of him to be too careful. He's doing the normal thing. Answers the Gemara, and here comes a big chidush. It's not the same. A tashmish amita is not like the two people walking down the street. Arzuis, answers the Gemara. We're in the second to last narrow line. Osam over there in the street, talvayu bad keadodininu. Over there, they both walked, they're both active, they both drive or walk 50 miles or 20 miles an hour, or run or jog normally, both equal distance, equal speed more or less, and therefore you can't blame me more than you blame yourself. Halacha, over here, iu kovid maise. Over here, by the classical way of Tashmish, the husband is more active. He's doing the Maisa, the Loi, because he's more active than her, Mimela, he is Mechuyav. The only time we say that your potter is when I say, I bumped into you, well, you bumped into me just like I bumped into you. Yeah, both cars were driving, boom. Yeah, they hit each other, in the corner, in the curve, and boom, we both surprised each other. But shaken over here, the woman was not driving, so to speak. The woman was passive, the husband was active. And therefore, in that case, we say that's like Ki'ilu, not Bershus. That's like one guy walking, or the one guy stopping. Bekitzer, one guy is more at fault because he's more active than her. He Ki'ilu bumped into her, Kivyochel. Frag the Gemara, you're telling me that she's potter because she's not active? Is that so? She is not active? What did I say? Yeah, she's passive, and therefore that's also now only his chayav, not she. Well, the question is, what would you say about an Eishesish? Chash v'shalom, an Eishesish, that's mizane, and she's not active. She wants it. She called her friend, so to speak, to come to her house, and she says, come to me. And she's not active. She's not moving. She's not doing anything. But she wants it very much, and she's enjoying it very much. Maybe she should be off the hook. Maybe the Eishesish should not be killed. Should not get chorus because she's not active. How far do you go there? Frag the Gemara, it's not my question. Frag the Gemara, Vaksiv, it says in the Torah, in the Bible, both nefashos, both souls, both people, yet chorus, both, so to speak, lover, and we spoke about love in the previous year, both the Menayef and the Menayefes, both of them, they get chorus. So you see that the Torah doesn't see her as passive, Horaya, you see that she's looked like as active because you take her, you give her chenek. Malchus, whatever the Oynish is, chenek is for Eishesish, so what's going on here? Do you look at her as passive or you don't? Don't you or do you? Answers the Gemara, as I told you many, many times, and I will again say many, many times, you don't compare parts of Torah one to the other. Every compartment of Torah has different standards. Eshesish is not Nezikin, Nezikin is not Eshesish. As the Gemara explains, Hano letavayu islu. They are both enjoying the story. When a woman, whatever that is, Nida, Eshesish, whatever that is, they're both enjoying themselves. They're both willing partners. Yeah, they're both consenting adults, and they are in the story mitzad Hano. And therefore, says Tosfos, unbelievable. Maybe you should see the Tosfos inside. It's a short Tosfos. The Tosfos says here down below, yeah, Iu Kovid Maise. The third wide line, Tosfos, Iu Kovid Maise. Says Tosfos, Shemilian and Chates in the Malchus Chayeves. She's Chayev. Derachmone Achshe Velano Maise. In other words, yeah, a woman who is enjoying herself and is a willing partner in the story, then we say, now you are Chayev. The Torah considers her Hano, her willingness, her passive part, but willing partner, that's like a Maisa. Wow, it's considered like a Maisa. The fact that she's interested and she's in the story and she wants it and she enjoys it, that makes her like an active member regarding punishment. However, I'm back to the Gemara. But Ihu, regarding Nezikin, Ihu, Maisa the COVID. Nezikin, he's the only one doing the Maisa. Practically speaking, physically speaking, the man does the Maisa and the woman doesn't. So by Nezikin, we say he hurt her by mistake. That's Adam Muad Loilam. We're back to one guy actively mazik the other. Let's say I'm standing in the street in a legal way. I'm allowed to stand in the street corner, not disturbing anybody, sipping my coffee. A guy jogs and runs into me like a meshugane. Of course he's chayiv, right? I'm okay, and he's active. It's not mutual. That's the story of the husband and the wife. He's chayiv. Mashenkin, why do you say that the woman should go get chenek if she's an eshes ish, even though she's passive? Because she's enjoying it and she wants it. That makes her be chayiv. Now, you would ask, what happens if the woman is active? There could be such a matter. Let's say for a case, our cases, I'm learning this now in Iyun, about Yolgu Bal Yavo. If they tell a woman, have someone have relations with you and eshes ish or I'll kill you. And it's not regular rape. It's not a guy who's holding her, nailing her down to the ground. It's a guy who tells her, I want you to come to my house and it's not to kill you. Luciano knows where you live, he knows where you sleep. I want you to come to my house now, and you know exactly why I want you to come to my house. So she's actively walking to his house, knowing she'll be mezaneh, and if not, he'll kill her. If not, he'll kill her. So then we say she's mechuyev to be moisel nefesh, enochinami. If she's active, she has to be moisel nefesh and say, kill me and I won't come. Because her walking to his house is active. Or even in the course of Tashmish, he says, I want you to bring my erva on you. So says the Tosfos. Then if she's active, she's supposed to, Yorgu Bal Yavor, she's supposed to die and not do the Maisa. Yeah? Only when is she potter? When is a woman potter? When she's raped? When she's karka oilom. Karka oilom, if she's passive and the guy, miskina, the guy is doing everything by himself, holding her gunpoint, and she's completely passive, then we say that's a case of rape, which of course it's nothing to do with her, and she's potter and she doesn't have to die. She doesn't have to resist further in risking her life. That's, by the way, why Esther married Xerxes. Why did Esther allow herself to go to Achashverosh? Because she was forced. She was karka oilom. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf and Daled, Esther was like the ground of the earth, like karka oilom. Yeah, Esther was completely passive. She was forced, but she was taken at the beginning, at least. Yeah, and then in the palace, she had no choice. He was doing everything. She was not doing anything, and therefore that's considered as real pikuach nefesh, even beyond anything else, karka oilom, and she's potu, and she didn't have to die. What about Yosef? Let's go. Yes.
So what happens if a wife says to her husband, "We're allowed to come"?
Hashem Yazor. Says the Gemara, yeah, now we're dealing with the last case of the Mishnah, with one person walking behind the other, and there was either sudden stopping or overspeeding. Let's see the next case and how it's compared to the Mishnah. Omer Shlakish. Sedr Shlakish. Shtei pos b'shus harabim. We've seen this case many times before, but here's the source. Now is the source. Two cows are in Reshus harabim. Achas levutza v'achas me'aleches. One of them is crouched, one of them is lying on the floor, the other one is walking But let's assume the one Me'aleches is walking behind the Revutza. The Revutza stopped. One started crouching and lying down. The other one is walking behind it. But Me'aleches be'Revutza p'tura. If the one walking kicked the one lying down, potur, she's potur. Revutza be'Me'aleches chayeves. If the one lying down is now Revutza, she's kicking. She kicked the one walking, she's chayev. The one lying down, not only she lies down in the middle of the street, the mechutz efes, the chutz pedik, she also sends her foot in the middle of, being, passive. Boom, she gives a kick to her friend, so she's chayiv, or her owner is chayiv, as Yitzchak always says. Let us say that our Mishnah is a siyua, is a help to Reish Lakish. Let's assume now that our Mishnah helps and asserts the opinion of Reish Lakish. Why? Let's see. The Mishnah seemingly says like Reish Lakish. What does Mishnah say? The owner of the koira walked first. He walked ahead. Bal Chovis was walking behind. The Chovis now broke into the koira. Bal koira potur, because the Bal Chovis was overspeeding. Right? The car behind was overspeeding. The car behind is one who was hurt, was damaged. I'm sorry, mister, you're overspeeding. But if Balakor is one who suddenly stopped with no brakes lights, the Balakor, the first one, this crash like that, crash, crash, and then the Balakor is chayev because then he did a sudden stop or an illegal stop. He was a lofush. Zog the Gemara, look, it's the same. It says that the cow which is crouched on the floor illegally, she stopped, and she's not supposed to stop and just lie down there, and we see that she's chayev. Very good. In other words, it looks like both Reish Lakish and the Mishnah are of the same cloth. They seem to be saying the same thing, that somebody who stopped like a klotz in the middle of the street is unexpectedly, illegally, not the right way, is chayev for any damage, for any crashing that happens behind, both by the cow and by the koira. So the Mishnah seems to support Reish Lakish. Zog the Gemara, this is going to come, twist the pond, that's going to come crushing down. But Tizbero hasai, you think this is a help for Reish Lakish? Baya, lo mistaya de lo misai, not only doesn't help Reish Lakish, the Mishnah not only doesn't help Reish Lakish, it poses a difficulty on Reish Lakish. It's not good with Reish Lakish. Why? Tamo de boto. What did Reish Lakish say? Reish Lakish said that the cow that crouched in the street and gave a kick, boom, then she's chayev. Mashma. I wondered, by the way, if I'm asked my question, Rabbi Tachtel can ask a question. What's the chiddush here of the cow kicking? Of course, the cow that kicked is chayev. Karen, you know the chiddush is the boto. Only if she kicked, she's chayev. Hahuz kamimela potu. Oy vavoy. Look at that. Reish Lakish says only if the one crouching is kicking actively is chayev. Mashma, if the other cow bumped into it and the other cow was still lying on the floor, not kicking, completely passive, then she's potu. Oy vavoy. V'ames nisin de mimela v'ktani chayev. Big question on Reish Lakish. Again, what's the question? Reish Lakish didn't say that the cow crouched in the street is chayev because she's crouched. No, he said because she kicked. Imagine yourself the driver who actually stopped suddenly, and the other one behind him, nothing happened, but he comes out of his car, the one who stopped suddenly, comes and goes to the other driver behind him and gives him a kick. That's science fiction, never happens anywhere in the world. Even in England, I think such things can happen. No? Be honest. That road rage, it's called? Yes? Okay. So that's when Reish Lakish is mechayev. The cow was crouched and she kicked. Mashma, that if she was bumped into without kicking, if the guy was sitting nicely in the car, not kicking anybody, but the car behind him crashed into him, then chayev. Yeah, but Reish Lakish seems to be saying potu. Reish Lakish says only because she kicked. Mashma, just by her being there and somebody crashing into her, she's potu. And the Mishnah says chayev. It's not good with Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish seems to be saying it's fine and dandy and okay to stop in the middle of the street and somebody crashing into you. And says the Gemara, don't worry, don't get excited. And says the Gemara, it's not the same case. Masnisin, our Mishnah talks about the Pascal Ucha Kishilda, as we had the case before. In the Mishnah, it's a whole new story You probably, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but you probably thought that if this spoon is the koiro, the guy with the koiro was walking this way. Yeah, and behind him the other guy, right? No, says the Gemara was walking this way. He was walking with the car across the street, blocking the street. And therefore, we do expect up to a certain point, the guy behind to be aware of what's going on. And that's what you people are probably feeling like with the distance or something. If I have 3 lanes road and I see one car being a bit funny, stopping, starting with some shoddy guy inside, I move to a different lane, right? But if it's a huge truck that takes all 3 lanes, theoretically speaking, yeah, some lorry that is blocking the whole place, and it's driving, and then it stops, I have nowhere to go. That's the difference. Let's read it in the words of the Gemara. Mas nisin de paskel urcha keshilda. The Mishnah talks about when the person walking with the koiro is always liable because there is nowhere to escape. He is actually mafsik. He stops, interrupts the entire urcha, the whole road, the whole way path, like a shilak and nevela, and then when he stops, it blocks everywhere. I had nowhere to run. Yes, I did watch my step more or less, says the guy behind, but when you suddenly stopped, I had nowhere to go. And I'm not so mechuyev to be that careful. You stopped like a crazy. Over here, it's a different story with the cows. Over here, she's crouching nicely in one side of the street. The cow that crouched in the street and Rish Lakish exempts her, let's say it's a 3-lane street, so to speak. There are 3 lanes for the cows and the donkeys and the camels, and she's lying in one side. And then we say, says Rish Lakish, you, the other cow that's walking, why are you walking all over me? Why? You should have walked the other side. You should, or the cow or its owner, also cows, they know about territory. Cows know about territory as well as people. All the animals, they have sense of territory. You saw that this cow, she took that spot. You have plenty of other places to go. She didn't stop it across the street. She's lying down in lane A. You should take lane C. You didn't. That's not the crouching cow's fault. She's allowed to crouch in the middle of the street as long as you can watch her step in other areas. Ella, okay, so remember it's not a stira. Unless, of course, the cow kicked it. If the sitting cow kicked the other one, that's already not fair. That's out of the game. Then she has to pay. Now the Gemara gives another attempt, maybe from the Seifa. Ela Seifa de Masnisin Misal Rish Lakish. Maybe the end of the Mishnah, that can help Rish Lakish, the Ktani. What does it say at the end of the Mishnah? I want to remind you, Rish Lakish said 2 things. He said that the cow that kicks is chayev. He also said that if the cow that the one that's walking kicked the one lying down is potur, because the one lying down is not 100% okay either. It's like middle of the road. So let's see now what the Gemara says. Diktani. Okay, what's the story? The Baal Chovis walks ahead. He walks first. Baal Koiro walks behind him. Okay, the one with the beam is behind. Hey, I'm walking my Chovis. Boom, an unexpected hit on my shoulder. And everything falls. Hey, Mr. Koiro, you're chayev. I'm walking normal speed. I'm not stopping, not suddenly, not shmaminli. You walk too fast. Otherwise, what are you doing here? You were overspeeding, you're chayev. Ve'im omad ba'al chovis potu. If the ba'al chovis is the one that stood suddenly, I'm the first guy, I'm the Baal Chovis, and I just had to look at my smartphone to see the latest news from Indonesia. I can't live without it 1 second. And I stopped illegally, unexpectedly in the middle, and then somebody crashed behind me. The one crashing behind me is Potter. I shouldn't have stopped like that in the middle of the street. Very good. Maybe that would be a help to Rish Lakish. In the case of Rish Lakish, the Kemalech is Bervutza Dami. It sounds like the one walking is kicking the one Revutza. In other words, here it's the opposite case. We see that just like the guy who stopped suddenly, if the one behind him hit him, then we say it's not the one behind's fault because you stopped suddenly. You're stopping here in a way you're not supposed to. Yeah, and that's why it's Potter. You stop suddenly, you have no brake lights. Your brake lights are gone. Ooh, don't tell the police. MOT, da-da-da. You have no brake light, no stopping. You stop suddenly, unexpectedly, in the middle of a very fast road. Then what? The guy behind is Potter. Same thing here. He says if the cow behind the sitting cow, the sitting one set suddenly, the one behind it kicked it, it's Potter. Same thing. Tani Potter. Says the Gemara, no. It's not the same at all. We're not doicher Rish Lakish, but there's no proof to Rish Lakish. Why? Masnisin dechi orchi kamazgi. The Mishnah spoke about what? The guy behind walking normally, and by mistake, he bumped into the front guy because the front guy stopped suddenly. Then we say, what could have I done? What do you want? You have no brakes light. You start in the middle of a very fast highway. Boom, I have no choice. Over here, Omar Lay, over here, the guy, the owner of the sitting cow says to the one behind it, even though you have permission to walk all over me, whatever that means, why did you kick me? Again, the same mashal. He's saying Rish Lakish, the cow behind actually walked and kicked the sitting one. That's okay. That's not a problem. Says, I'm not sure. As we saw this before, you can walk, and if you bump into the sitting cow and hurt her by mistake, like regel, then it's okay. Because why are you sitting down there? Mashe'emken, when it kicked it, b'mezid, b'chavana, took out the foot and kicked it, who said that's allowed? That's right beyond it. In our mashal, let's say you have two guys, one driving behind the other, and then the guy from behind goes out and gives a fist, he kicks the front guy in the face. That's not legal. Even the first one stops suddenly, and you're very upset with him, don't call him names and don't kick him. That's already a whole new darga. Nobody said that's okay. Mimela, we don't have a proof to Rish Lakish. We did not, by the way, reject Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish may be right, but we did not approve him from the Mishnah. We don't see a proof from the Mishnah. Let's summarize. The Mishnah basically says as follows. The Mishnah says that if the first guy stopped suddenly, then who's chayev? The first guy. He stopped with no permission. But he's not allowed to do obviously anything violent. The one behind. And the same thing the other way. If the guy behind is the one that was over speeding, then the guy behind is chayev. If he was being hurt. Very good. But to do anything extra more than that, potter. Rish Lakish says no. Rish Lakish says, Rish Lakish of course wouldn't say that human beings can kick each other. Rish Lakish never said that. However, Rish Lakish believes that in case of cows being cows, they have stronger yitzhar than people. They're not civil animals. The cows, mimela. If the back cow was so frustrated by the front cow that stops her and interrupts her way, if the back one being frustrated by that stupid, lazy one who all the time partially blocks away, if she kicked her, potter. Rish Lakish takes it to that extent. But we don't know if he's right or wrong. From the Mishnah, we can't derive anything regarding Rish Lakish. Okay? Question, Mishnah. Let's continue to the next Mishnah. We can finish Amud today. Surprise, surprise. Yay. Good. Now let's talk about a similar case, but running. Two people walking down the street. One of them was walking nicely, walking gingerly, slowly. The other one was running. Or both of them were running. Both of them damaged each other because they bumped into each other. He got a bump in his head and he got a bump in his toe. And they're both potter. If they both ran, they're potter. But funnily enough, the ratio of the Mishnah said, if one was walking, the other one was running, they're still potter. Why? It sounds like the Mishnah says that people are allowed to run in the middle of the street. In other words, running, I don't think means running like a marathon, like an Olympic runner. What? Jogging or, speeding or walking very, very, very fast or jogging. In other words, something that's normal to be done in the street. You see it many times. You see people walking down the street in a busy city. Some of them are, very busy businessmen, top people. And they run. They're very, very, they're running from meeting to meeting. And the other one is a person who's unemployed, I don't know what. He has all the time in the world in his hands and he walks slowly, checking each and every leaf on the tree. So both are legal ways of walking. So even though the guy was running, the other one was walking, we could entertain the thought, by the way, that's not the maskana, but we could entertain the thought that really both of them are potter, and even if the runner hits the walker, he's potter. You can ask on it, but let's first see the Mishnah. Says the Gemara, we right away see a different opinion. Our Mishnah seems to be against the opinion of a Tana called Isi ben Yehuda. The Tanya, it says in the Brisa, Isi ben Yehuda omer, ratz chayev. Isi ben Yehuda doesn't mince his words. He right away says, no, the runner is chayev, mipnei shu meshuneh. A person should not run in the street. I mean, you're allowed to run, but that's mishuna. That's a strange way of behavior. The street is not a racing course. The street is not a place where people are meant to run. They're meant to walk more or less normal. You're over speeding and you're chayiv. If you ran, well, the other one was walking, the one running is chayiv because that's mishuna. That's a nutty way of doing it. However, Isi Ben Yehuda says, if it's Friday afternoon very late, Ben Shmoshes is already the very past afternoon, yeah? Then people run in order to accept Shabbos. You can either say, by the way, some Rishonim say even Friday afternoon, everyone's in a rush to shop, to buy, right? Friday by us Jewish people is a very busy, runny day, yeah? So then if it's Friday afternoon, or as we see later, as a run to shul to accept Shabbos, to welcome Shabbos, then it's allowed because it's accepted to run. Either because you run, it's a mitzvah, and if you do a mitzvah, remember what we said about Chanukah? Right? If your candle is the Chanukah candle in the street and the camel with a flag scheme, you're potter. Because I'm doing a mitzvah, you should be careful. It's all frum's environment. It's kiryat sefer, let's say, or kiryas yoel. What about what happens if Lamoshel over here? It's Shabbos. Everybody knows that everyone runs on Shabbos, runs around. You're walking slowly Erev Shabbos. It's not my fault. I'm allowed to run on Friday afternoon. But other than that, Sunday through Thursday and Koshki and Shabbos, if I run, I'm the one culpable. Amar b'yochanan. Okay, so the Mishnah is not Isi Ben Yehuda. The Mishnah said running is okay. Isi Ben Yehuda says running is not okay. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, halacha ki Isi Ben Yehuda. Says Rabbi Yochanan, I vote for Isi Ben Yehuda. Halacha is like Isi Ben Yehuda. The one running, the runner, he is the one chayiv. Frag the Gemara, how could you say that? Really? Did Rabbi Yochanan ever say such a thing? We saw it a few days ago, right? Remember, Rabbi Yochanan said halacha is always like a regular anonymous Mishnah. If there's the Mishnah that doesn't quote any opinion, it's just said from the narrator of the Mishnah, then we say the Mishnah is halacha. Halacha should follow that Mishnah. So, Vetnan, look at our very own Mishnah, which we saw 5 minutes ago. It says in the Mishnah, Echad Ratz, Echad Malech, Oyu Shesh Neim Rotzi, Pturin. How can you, Rabbi Yochanan, contradict yourself? You're telling me halacha like Isi Ben Yehuda, the running is okay. And now you say, no, halacha is like the Mishnah, and the Mishnah said running is not okay. Hello? Where's Rabbi Yochanan in the story? Rabbi Yochanan cannot contradict himself. He's Rabbi Yochanan. Says the Mishnah, says the Gemara, everything is fine, don't scream at me. Masnisin Be'el Shabbos Ben Shmoshes. Very easy. Mishnah is an ukimta. The Mishnah only said what it said, that running is legal and good if it's Ben Shmoshes Erev Shabbos. And then Isi Ben Yehuda also said that everybody's friendly. Isi Ben Yehuda was anti-running. Isi Ben Yehuda is anti. He says running is you do you chayev. Friday afternoon or later says it's okay. Our Mishnah that said it's okay spoke about Friday afternoon. Exactly, like Isi Ben Yehuda. Everyone's friendly, everyone's good, no problem. Rabbi Yochanan passes like Isi Ben Yehuda, and the Mishnah also could follow Isi Ben Yehuda. The Mishnah only said that if it's Shabbos Ben Shmoshes, then it's okay to run, just like Isi Ben Yehuda said. Now the question is, how do you know? How can you tell me that the Mishnah speaks about Friday afternoon? There's no hint to that. Right? Where's the illusion in the Mishnah that the Mishnah speaks about Friday afternoon? Mimai. How do you know that? Answers the Gemara, brilliant answer. It says in the Mishnah, the Mishnah spoke about 2 cases. The Mishnah depicted 2 cases. One, the first case is one running into his friend who's walking nicely. And the second part was both of them running. So that's an extra case. It's very redundant. Tu, lamali. Why do you have to mention the second case? If one guy runs and the other one walks and you still exempt the running guy, and that's a big chiddush because he's more active. He's like the husband in the Tashmish, he's walking. He's one much more active, and yet he's potu for whichever reason. Shneim rotzen mibaya. So if both of them were running equal pace and they're both running, bumping into each other, of course they're potu. Why do you have to mention the seifa? This is what really the Mishnah means to say. You know when it is that one guy runs and hits the guy who innocently walks slowly? That is only in Shabbos, Erev Shabbos Ben Shmoshes, Friday afternoon. Everyone's allowed to run. That's a time where everybody runs. Aval b'chol, but if it's a regular Wednesday morning, echad ratz ve'echad mehalech chayev. If it's regular time when people are not supposed to run, one of them was running, the other one was walking, the runner is chayev. He's more active. Not just active, he's doing something illegal. He's not supposed to run in the middle of the street, lest you bump into someone. And now comes the sefer, makes a lot of sense. Shneim rotzin, comes the sefer, says, no, if both of them ran, afil b'chol p'turin, Baruch Hashem, very nice. The Mishnah, when the Mishnah said that both runners are potur, that's even b'yom choil. I'm as illegal as you are. You're blaming, oh, it's not nice to run in the street. Excuse me. We have two edim showing, just like I was running 50 kilometers an hour, so did you. The same thing as me, so we're both at fault. The same thing, yeah. Omamar, let's just finish this, and that's the end of the Amud. Omamar, a very important small addition. Right? What do we say? Friday afternoon. Here it sounds like it's Friday ben Hashmoshes, already around Shkia. Oh, very nice, Yosef, and note to your wife. If everything should be done already, what's he running for? Maybe Friday afternoon, you're still running to the mikveh and running to get the third fish salad, or I don't know what, to get a cake to someone who gave birth for Shabbos. All very nice. But Ben Hashmoshes, what are you running? Ben Hashmoshes all should have been all done already. So what are you running for? My Bilshus Ika, what's the big permission all of a sudden to run? Says the Gemara Kedem Chanina. Dama B'Chanina, next page. Bo v'netzel likras kala malkiso. He's told his Talmidim, let's go and run towards Shabbos the Queen. The Amr likras Shabbos kala malkiso. Okay, same thing. Either kala malkiso, Shabbos kala malkiso. I didn't actually go into the differences here. We welcome Shabbos by running out to the field. Running into looking for Shabbos. Rabbi Yana misatef v'kai v'amar boikalo boikalo. Rabbi Yana would actually misatef. He would, after the shower, the mikveh, he would right away put on his clothes. He was done his nice Shabbos robe, the white robe, and then he would stand and say, "Come, O bride, come, O bride." And that's our minhag. As we all know, we don't run. The Mishnah Berurah says we follow the minhag of Rabbi Yana to be static and just go towards Shabbos without running. That's why we turn towards the door. Yeah, in Lechadoidi, that's why we turn our faces towards the door, as if we welcome the Queen's Sabbath. You keep Shabbos? Yeah, very nice. Well, Shkoyech, Baruch Hashem, may we all be Matzliach in everything. Shalom al Yisrael, nobody should run too much, nobody should get hurt. Hashem Yazor, Bezos Hashem, everyone should be well and healthy. Anyway, should have a good year.